Alright guys, just want to do a quick overview of the Haibike 3.0 2020 model. Just thought I'd give a few views and what I likes, what I don't likes. Just a couple of things. When I was looking for one of these, there wasn't many videos on the internet that I could find. There was one or two, but not a huge amount that I could see. So I just thought I'd put this together for anyone that's thinking about Haibike or the 3.0 in particular. Just to give you an overview, really, just an opinion of what I think. Just off the bat, this bike came from Leslie's Cycles in Canvey Island in Essex. I have to say, they were really good. They've been really good up there. It's a fairly small place. You get a real feel that it's a kind of family-run business. They don't give you any nonsense, and they've been really, really good right from the beginning. But I have to say as well that I very nearly didn't get this bike at all. When I was looking for Haibike, there was nothing about, obviously, COVID, pandemics and everything. There was very few bikes around at the time, and I found this on the internet on Leslie's Cycles, and the only one they had was an XL, which is what this is. Now, I've always been large. I've had many trances, various bikes, and I've always been a large. I'm 6'1", about 90 kilos. And so when this came up in XL, I thought, I'm not even going to bother. I'm not going to bother looking. But because Les isn't too far from me, I thought, you know what, I'll drive up there. Just to have a bit of a pervert bike, to be honest with you. I had no intention of thinking it would fit me or anything else, but I just thought, I'll go and have a look. They're half an hour away. Went up there. They pulled it out of the display, and I sat on it, and I thought, this actually feels pretty good. It felt very similar to my Trance Large that I'd had previously. So much so that I thought, this is all right. I'm going to have it. And it doesn't feel overly big at all. Not in any way, shape or form does it feel massive or unwieldy. So all I would say is, if you're considering a Haibike in particular, don't be put off if they haven't got your usual frame size. Give it a go and see what you feel, because you might find that it's okay. Certainly, I think you may be looking at a size up from what you're used to riding. So yeah, don't discount one that may be too big. Give it a go. So I'll go over each bit. I think would be the easiest way to do it. I haven't written any of this down, guys, so bear with me. I'm just going off the top of my head. So yeah, frame, it's been fine. Not much to say about it really. As I said, it's XL. To me, it seems bulletproof, I've got to say. Runs a massive headstock on it, massive top tube, massive down tube, and the thing just feels like you could throw it off a cliff and it's not going to break. Not really much I've changed on the frame itself. The only thing I've done is add the only contact bits that you like to get scraped up over time are on the swing arm linkage. There's some Invisi frame on here that I've put on there. You probably can't see it on the video. And on this edge down here as well, I've had some 3M carbon wrap sitting in my shed for a while. So I'll just put a strip on that side and a strip on the other side, just to protect those two edges, because they're the two that are going to get rubbed mostly. I may do something with the swing arm, I don't know yet, but the bit of Invisi frame I've got here actually came with the bike in a box with a charger and a few other bits, so that was put on there, but it was only a couple of bits, so I just made up that myself down the bottom. If we go back to the front, RockShox Yari forks, they've been pretty good. I've got to say, when I picked up the bike, these at first felt bloody awful. They were so stiff that I just, I either thought someone had put about 300 psi in them, or I don't know, but they were really, really harsh. and I knew straight away from the little sag I was getting that they were way too harsh. So dropped the pressure down, which helped a bit. But I found the only real way that I could get these forks anything like how I want them. Bearing in mind, I'm not a big hitter by any means, guys. I'm not, you know, doing massive drops or anything. So I prefer plushness really to anything. And the only way I could get these right was to remove 2 tokens which were inside. I didn't think there was any in here when I bought the bike, because in the box, the bits that came with it was 2 tokens in the box as well. So I was quite surprised when I pulled the forks apart and I found there was another 2 in here. So I took both of those out and made a massive, massive difference. And now they work as I like them. It's not for everyone's taste, but they work as I like. I've got the right amount of sag on it, and they're very, very plush right through the travel, and I haven't bottomed them out yet. So, but just bear that in mind. That's from the factory. They were just overkill. I don't know whether Haibike were thinking that some 6'5" gorillas were going to jump on these and start taking them off the blacks at Morzine straight off the bat. I've no idea, but they were set up way, way too stiff. And not in a million years would I have any chance of bottoming these out as the bike was supplied to me. So the tokens come out. The only other thing I've done is change the air spring from a 160 to a 180. Not for any great necessity, but they're not a huge amount of money, and it just means, because the Yarries and the way these rock shocks work, they do tend to sit a little bit low in their travel before they're even loaded up with sag. So I just wanted to try and retrieve some of that lost travel that you start with. So I put a 180 air spring in, and that's done what I wanted it to do. That's worked fine. Got an extra 20 minute travel back, and it's working really nice. Still a little bit more stiction there than I would like, if I'm honest. But let's bear in mind these aren't super expensive forks, guys. I mean, you know, bear in mind that this bike is pretty much the bottom rung of the ladder for Haibike's AllMtn series. You're not going to get £2 forks on this bike. It's just not going to happen. So we have to bear in mind that the Yarries aren't top-notch forks by any means. But for me, they now work okay. I'm quite happy with those. Did add a little RockShox mudguard, obviously in blue. That fits nicely. Does keep a lot of the crap out, and especially a lot of stuff from hitting this section of the frame, which is exposed, as again I could Invisi frame that as well. But most of this is taken up with the battery, which I'll show you in a sec, and has a plastic cover, so you haven't got to worry too much about most of it, and it extends right the way down to this plastic bash guard underneath. It's just this very top section that's exposed. I did put Hope 220 discs on, again for no real reason other than I just like the look of them, if I'm honest with you. The Maguiras that are on now work. They do work really well. The Magura 200s that the bike's supplied with, they feel plenty strong enough, I've got to say, but to me they seem really noisy, and that's part of the reason why I went to the Hopes. The Maguras seem to get their braking force by having some really aggressive cutouts in the disc, which I think just grip the pad so strongly. But the downside of that is they make a load of noise, but they do work. If that's your thing, and I've got nothing against that, you know. If you just want to stop the bike, they work fine. But I just decided I like the 220s, and they are certainly quieter than the Maguras. While I was there, just as a bit of a tart, I bought some blue plastic inserts for the calipers. The standard ones come with silver inserts. That was just a little thing that I fancied doing. Changed the grips because I just like race face grips. I had them on previous bikes. and they're just, yeah, I've just got used to them. What else this side? Probably not a lot. Oh, I changed the seat. That's an ergon seat. I don't know what Haibike were thinking with the seat that comes with it. It looks fancy enough, but when you actually start riding it, you notice that the top section is actually curved, which, let's face it, it's not ideal for us guys, to be honest with you. I don't know whether other people have struggled with it. I know I did. After the first 20 miles, I found it was so uncomfortable. So I just went for an ergon seat. This is the Emtb spec one, which apparently is meant to be better because it has this little step up on the back and it's supposed to help when you're climbing and stuff. I'll be honest, I can't really say that helps, but it's certainly more comfortable. But yeah, so this side brakes have been fine. I've kept the standard Magura MT5 levers, which have been upgraded, I think, on this year. Previously they used like a plastic lever, but these are now all alloy and they fit really nice. They're single or twin finger, whichever you want. I'll normally use them in single finger. You don't need two fingers with these brakes, but they fit really nice. They feel nice. They've got great progression. Yeah, they feel great. I've got no issues with the cylinders or the levers at all. They work really well. The only one issue that I've had while I'm around this side of the bike is that the dropper sticks, which is somewhat annoying. It will probably do it now if I press the lever. Yep, the lever's fully in. Oh, there we go, that's just decided to go. But a lot of time when you're riding this, it seems to be worse when you're riding it. It will stick down, you press the lever and it won't come up. And the only way to get it back up is to push down on it first. It's been like that since new. I've mentioned it to Leslie Cycles. I've said, yeah, no problem, bring it back, we'll have a look, we'll do whatever we need to do. And to be honest, it's just going back there. I've got to put the bike in the car, I've got to drive up there, lose the bike for at least a day while they pull it apart. It's 2 trips and it's just not that big of a problem for me. I will get it done, I think, at some point, but with the weather being nice as it is now, it's just not a big enough problem for me to make the effort, if I'm honest. But Les have been really good, obviously. I just said bring it back, no problem. Rear shock, just remembered, I had exactly the same problem with the rear as I did the front. The rear, I could barely get that to move when I sat on it. And I almost thought it was set up in lockout mode, which gives you a little bit of movement, obviously. And I thought that's what it was set at. And obviously within seconds, you could see that it wasn't locked out. Took some pressure out, made it a bit better as it did with the fronts. But again, the problem is that it was loaded up with tokens. I don't know what they were thinking. I mean, there was 3 tokens in the can. I took all 3 out, every single one of them. And now it's great. For me, it's great. It's just how I want it. I still haven't bottomed it out. It's nice and plush. I've got the right sag. It's using the right sort of amount of travellers I would expect for the sort of rides I'm doing. 1000% better than it was, the same as the front. So I don't know, guys, you might want to think about taking these tokens out when you get a bike, depending on what you're doing with the bike. If you're an animal, then maybe not, or at least reduce them, you know, take 1 out of the front and maybe 1 or 2 out of the back. But for me, I took all 3 out. And it's a lot better now, and it behaves as I expected it to. While I'm around this side, the motor, Bosch CX Gen 4, are really impressed. Really impressed with that. The motor is as strong as an ox. I put it in Emtb mode and you know, it will just climb. Really impressive. It's not overly noisy. It seems to have virtually zero, if in fact no drag at all once you're past the 15.5 mile an hour limit. It just behaves beautifully. It is a really, really nice motor. I can't praise it enough, I must admit. And the modes that you get pre-programmed, I think are great. You've got an eco mode, which just gives you a little bit if you're just poodling along and you just want a bit of help. The next mode up to that, tour mode, which I often use quite a lot. It's great for if you're just on doing some road work. The next one up is Emtb, which is great if you're literally off-road. It will cover every eventuality. And then the final setting is turbo, which is basically the same peak power as you'd get out of Emtb, but it's peak all the time, as opposed to Emtb responds to the amount of input you put in, and it'll adjust its assistance depending on how much effort you put in. Whereas turbo is just full on loony mode, which is too much for off-road sometimes. You're just taking off when you don't really want to. But Emtb is brilliant for off-road. And between those modes, I find I'm not wanting for any other modes or any adjustments to those modes. They just suit me fine. I do probably far too much road work than I should, given the bike I've got, but I can only have one bike. I've only got room for one bike, so I need one bike that does everything. And this it's great. It does everything. I can do 40-50 mile road ride on this without any issue. It's comfortable. And likewise, this will be going with me to Morzine this year and doing some runs up there. So it will cover everything. I can go to the forest with it, I can go to the parks, I can do trails, I can do road work, and I can throw it down Morzine. So it really is, as it says, an all-mountain. You can do whatever you want with it. So that's kind of that side. What I'll do is I'll spin it round. I'll start talking about some bits on the other side. Just to give you a little bit more, but that's it for this side. I'll spin it round and we'll go from there.